What is a courageous heart? We don't act from a courageous heart because fear whispers to stay safe. It's the growth and the joy and the freedom that comes when we dare to listen to our heart's quiet step forward. What a courageous heart means to you.
Yeah. I love this graphic with the bars of the cage here,
Yeah,
um, because that really, tells me that I built the cage over my heart, and the it's like I have the key to unlock that and step out of the cage that I built for myself and to live a life that is bigger than what I was told to plan for.
yeah, yeah. Told by.
Told by society, told by my family, told by people that I loved and respected and were doing great in their life, doing what they were doing, but not realizing I had to do it different. I had to do it for me, my way.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Um, Making a leap of faith, listening to my inner voice and following, standing in your truth and power. Yeah. Acts despite fear. So it's always about that growth. Leads with authenticity. Now, I think all of these things are journeys, and it's something that we get better and better at. But staying true to our own deepest value and aligning with our own desires rather than the expectations of outside us. Being vulnerable. So, I love that Brene's really worked on, really opened this up that courageous is actually the vulnerability. It's when we share ourselves and allow others into our heart and into our connection, and we get that connection with others. So, chooses love over fear. I like this because I was sort of thinking, well, what's the difference with the acts and despite the fear and chooses love over fear? But there are always things going on in the world that, you would question if there's love. But there is always higher ways to be able to look at it and rather than get caught up into it ourselves, which I'm going to be talking a bit about this later on. I choose to have a higher perspective and, trust that everyone does have that divine light, that divine spark inside them, but they're not facing it, they're not turned towards it, they're not feeling it yet themselves. And so the best thing for me to do in that is to hold them in love and compassion rather than judgment. Seeking growth through challenge. So again, yeah, more expansion, bold boundaries. Where I don't know if we'll have time for really a lot on boundaries, but the truth is, I think bold boundaries are great, but they're hard. They're hard when you're a very caring, centered, um, to other people person. It's hard sometimes to have bold boundaries. So for me, it's the whole thing about just growing with your boundaries as well. Resilience over perfection, absolutely. I think we're all imperfectly perfect. And the truth is that when we finally accept what we're not so great at, we can just be ourselves, and that just is amazing. That's one of the things I love about getting older. It's just really letting go of what I worry about other people think. And it does, it creates inner freedom. We can let go of limiting beliefs, fears, past hurts to embrace a life full of joy and authenticity. And honoring our intuition. Someone did say that, listening to that quiet voice, listening to your heart. So the thing is, we don't actually need the next step. In fact, if we knew every step along the way, for another things, it's just really a task list instead of a goal or an intention or a heartfelt desire. But also, that would be completely overwhelming. So the truth is, we just need to tune in to that very next step and be open to all of the possibilities. And that's where I'm sort of been living. That's why I had a big hiatus from doing all of this work for a little bit because I just didn't have the energy or the capacity. And that's when I started traveling and I've met beautiful people, some of them in the audience today. Funny because I left a year ago on the end of August full moon, and the day I was driving home from my longer contract was the end of August full moon, and it felt like a complete loop, a complete cycle. And it has felt really right to be here in Melbourne again. And I'm, building this, expanding on this, and getting excited for all of this. Just think back to when you did experience your courageous heart. Maybe there was a difficult decision, and it might have taken quite a long time. Tune into that courageous heart that you had and notice, how did you feel? How did it feel before, during, and then afterwards? And the thing that I really like to look at is, what did you gain that you didn't expect? What gifts came about from it? For me, the thing was the self love, that realization, and also through the burnout, that whole piece where I just recognized I wasn't being responsible for myself and advocating for myself, speaking up for myself, and that was a real opportunity just to start more growth. There is. If I stayed, I wouldn't be where I am. So much stronger. There's so much more to life. Yeah. Yeah, I sort of, I do sometimes wonder. I reckon I would have ended up with some nasty disease or something because I was so unhappy. Clarity and knowing I need to put myself and my needs first before I can help others. I cannot give from an empty cup, absolutely. Yeah. What about your uncourageous heart? When have you found it easier to just go along? When have you avoided speaking up or saying what you really needed? It might be something big, it might be something small. Sometimes it's all the small things, but they add up and they can make us really uncomfortable and really unhappy, and even to the point where we can break our own heart. Can you think of an example when you weren't in your own courageous heart? And can you expand on that a little bit and see what it's costing you? And also, what is it that you were wanting to avoid? What is it that you were protecting yourself from? And often it's, the fears that come up really are usually fear of failure, fear of judgment, rejection, or even abandonment. Overthinking and doubt, we just get in our heads instead of our hearts. Fear of change can be really tied into our self-worth, can be related to past pain, past conditions, past experiences that we've had that we feel like, well, that's going to happen again. But the truth is, the cost of ignoring your courageous heart is settling for a life ruled by fear instead of by your limitless potential. And again, it's a continuum. The more we experience it, the more we do it, the more action we take in these areas. And when I say action, I mean the balance between listening and being and doing from that inspired place, not just go, go, go. But that's what then gives us that opening to our unlimited potential.